The Rebel Capitalist Show.
I've had this idea that we're in a long-term commodity super cycle. I've been talking about it a lot, and I've actually kind of adjusted my portfolio to maybe take advantage of that. And I've noticed that these super cycles last maybe 10, 15 years. And so I think we'll look back at, what was it, April of 2020 when oil was negative $38 a barrel. And, we'll say, okay, that was probably a low point. And I know the commodity prices are extremely volatile. And in the way I like to invest, I just have this saying where, you just buy low, sell high. I like to say that you just buy things when they're cheap, sell them when they're expensive. And oil usually is pretty cheap, under 30 a barrel. But it's hard not to get involved on the long side at even 80 or so when you think that we're going into this long-term super cycle where oil could go up to 200, 300. I mean, who knows how high it would go. So how, as a professional, how do you kind of manage your entry points, assuming that you're kind of bullish long term?
Yeah, I mean, I was, I obviously was started being bullish, and after oil took a low, I mean, everything was so cheap. I mean, really, I mean, it's like 80% off. It's you got it, it was a deal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of hard to get worse than that. So really, I mean, really what I do is, since I've, kind of had my base portfolio already completed and, by the end of 2020. So really, it's just kind of a matter of, easing up on, when we have these big bounces, easing up on, on my position size, and then, buying back lower. So, I'm kind of always trading around a core long position.
And how have you seen those commodity super cycles play out in the past? I'm sure you've studied that quite extensively. Are you in the same camp that we're most likely going to see commodity prices a lot higher over the next 10 years, even though we've got a lot of volatility in the interim?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're set. If you look at all the commodities, right, everything requires energy. So if you assume that you're going to have higher energy prices, that's higher input costs for everything, for agriculture, for metals mining, et cetera. And so, we're going to see higher commodity prices across the board because energy is the major input cost in all of those sectors.
Is there an argument that the cure for high prices is high prices? If oil gets up to 150, why couldn't we see another shale revolution or some sort of technology that's produced that will allow us to extract a lot more energy than we can extract right now, or maybe become far more efficient with the energy we use. Therefore, the demand goes a lot lower because we're able to satisfy our needs with a lot less than we're utilizing now. I mean, is there that argument, or what would be your rebuttal to that?
Yeah, I mean, yes, there is, improved efficiency. I mean, look at automobiles, for example. How many, gallons, how many miles per gallon have, has that increased? So definitely you'll see more efficiencies. The problem is that right now, which we haven't seen in a very, very, very long time, is structural supply deficit across all of these commodities. Right. So you're talking, and we have no capex, right? We haven't had no capex for the last 7 years in oil, no capex for the last 6 years in metals, right? So we're going to have to be playing catch up to that, and put on top of that is no one wants to produce because the whole industry is being demonized, right? And so I think our overlords, think that if we have higher oil prices, that we're all going to go out and buy an EV. And, first of all, that's just not possible because our grid would crash immediately if that were to happen. And the thing is, all these people have these lofty energy goals as far as renewables and green energy, and the technology just does not exist yet.
That's the bottom line here is I think when you're looking at the reduction in CapEx and when you're looking at the pressures currently from the politicians, who knows where that goes, but definitely the pressures I believe will remain from the kind of, we'll call it the global elite crowd. They don't like holes being dug in the ground. And what's interesting is in order to get to their objectives in 2030 or 2050 to go net zero, you've got to dig a lot more holes in the ground or well, that's just the bottom line, regardless of the price. So how does that play out in your mind, that this push toward these agendas while at the same time being very negative on drilling, energy use, and doing what you need to do to extract the copper, nickel, lithium, et cetera?
Well, I mean, they're unrealistic goals because they don't have the technology. Technology is just not there yet. We don't have the battery technology. The technology doesn't even exist yet to, have these goals. So, they think that just tomorrow we can turn around and, have renewables, and it's literally impossible. And so the problem, this is going to further exacerbate the problem because at the same time they don't want fossil fuels or metals, they need those if they want to get their renewables, right? And so this is going to continue to cause problems. I mean, this is just the very start of problem. I mean, literally what we're seeing in Europe right now is literally just the tip of the iceberg right now. And so, we're set to see a lot more problems because of how they are treating the industry, and the only industry that can help them get to their goals right now, unless somebody discovers nuclear fusion tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point, that in order to get to the goals they have to have the energy, but they're demonizing the energy industry that would allow them to get to the goals in the first place. And so what's the release valve there for investors? Is it just simply prices of commodities just have to explode?
There's no other, looking at, what is given at hand right now, there's no other way to look at the commodity industry right now. I mean, prices are going to go higher as demand goes higher and production is slower or lower.
Yeah. And then how does that translate into food prices? Same thing. So
food prices are going to be, skyrocketing. My themes for the last couple of years have been agriculture, metals, and the energy sector. Right. So, that's going to cause, again, energy is the major input. So this is going to cause prices to skyrocket. And there's no real way to stop that right now.
Is there anything that could, other than nuclear fusion or fission or whatever, that would get you to change your mind and say, okay, you know what, I that super cycle that I was 99% sure was going to pan out, now I'm second guessing that because of X, Y, and Z?
I would have to see something technology wise that appears that can efficiently take over, fossil fuels right now, and then that would suddenly change. But so far, there's just not, the technology doesn't exist yet. So I would have to see give me a technology that exists that is, just as efficient as the energy sector, right? It can't, except for nuclear, but,
in logistics too, though, Tracy, as you're saying that, I'm in Colombia and I was playing golf the other day with a guy that's very politically connected. He was a banker with Citi for 30 years. Then he retired to start investing in local mining projects here in Colombia. And he was telling me about what he has to do just to get to one of these places where they have this mine where he's investing. And it's like a flight on a puddle jumper. Then once you get off the puddle jumper, then you got to take like a Land Rover Defender or something like that. Some 4-wheel drive vehicle, like 2 hours into the jungle to try to get here and there.
Oh, yeah.
And as you're saying that, I'm thinking, how would, even if we had a new technology, how would we be able to utilize that in the middle of a jungle?
I mean, along that same vein, I was just thinking about is, everybody wants all these metals for these, but nobody wants it in their backyard. So nobody, that would be great if we, they're looking at Arizona and we're looking at Nevada, and, all the environmental groups say, no, we don't want you to, dig a mine here. So that's the other problem that you're having. So everybody wants it in the middle of nowhere. And then to your point, how do you get it there? How do you get the technology there?
Yeah. You know what that reminds me of? The story of the migrants that are being shipped to Washington, D.C. and New York by the guy in Texas.
Right.
He says, sure, all the blue states want open borders or whatever it is they want, but all of a sudden when we ship those people to them, now it's a huge problem.
Now it's a problem, right? Even though they're sanctuary cities. So said it was a sanctuary city.
Yeah, but it's always that mindset. Let's raise taxes, but just on the other guy. Not me.
Right.
No. It's just incredible how that is so pervasive with the human condition, right?